Hey there, everyone, and welcome back to First Alert Weather Extra. This is another segment of Mets Around the World, and today I'm super thrilled with our guest. We have meteorologist Cole Vaughn on here with NOAA, and I cannot wait to share his meteorology journey. How are you, Cole?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Okay, so first of all, we want to know about where all of this started. Where did you find your interest in weather?
Oh, it started back when I was really just a kid. I do not remember a time where I did not love the weather. um, and honestly, I feel like that's kind of the story for a lot of meteorologists, right? It's kind of boring. But there was not one big weather event for me. I've just always loved it.
Very nice. And so, where did you go to school, and where did you first start to indulge in pursuing your career?
So I went to Mississippi State and just graduated with a PhD from there last December. Got a master's there before, and then earlier got a bachelor's degree in communication. So um, got the triple crown, I guess you could say. And sorry, what was the second part of your question?
Oh, yeah. No, just talk about how your college process was. You got 3 degrees from Mississippi State, and you said you just graduated with your PhD. First of all, congratulations in December last year.
Yeah, just last December.
Very awesome. So, how was that process for you? First going into school, did you find it difficult? What were some of the challenges that you faced?
Yeah, I had no intention of getting a PhD, so going that route was very unexpected for me. Um, Yes, it was very challenging. I didn't really know what I was doing. I had earned a master's degree, but was still very naive to the research process. And the PhD is kind of going to work those kinks out. And so, yeah, it was a great experience. I had an absolutely fantastic advisor and research team, and I cannot speak more highly about the Mississippi State Meteorology Department. So, um, yeah, I absolutely love the experience. It really grew me a lot in terms of learning how to research and not just that, but learning how to be a scientist. I had a lot of weather knowledge prior to that. Um, but I feel like the PhD really took that knowledge and turned me into a scientist and learning how to think like a scientist. So, yeah, those are probably the big things that I learned out of the PhD process.
Well, very cool. So, Cole, what is your specific area of research within weather? What did you research?
Sure. Yeah. So mostly I research weather communication. I work less with like hard meteorological data, and I actually work more with people, understanding how they understand weather information, their perceptions, their interpretations, what can influence that. Because ultimately, the goal is if we're going to communicate weather information, we need it to be received well. And the public and other people that are using weather information to make decisions, they need to be able to have that information in a way that's usable for them. And so that's kind of what I focus on, is learning more about how people interact with weather information.
Very nice. So, what does your day to day look like now? So, you're with NOAA. Can you explain what exactly you do for your day to day tasks?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm a research scientist with NOAA. So I'm not really doing any weather forecasting. That's all now just fun and games. So, I'm generally on a project or two or three at a time. And I'm either the project could be focused on social science, type things. So we're talking with people and learning how they're going to use or interpret weather information, or it could be maybe developing a tool or something that's being used and understanding how we can incorporate what we've learned about people into that to make sure that that tool is meeting their needs. And so day to day can vary. It's I wouldn't necessarily say there's a lot of structure, but every day I'm working. Maybe I'm reading some articles to understand what's been done in the past, in past research, what other people have learned. And maybe trying to adapt that so that I can create my own project out of that, or using it to provide support for another project.
Very nice. So, do you have a typical schedule, 9 to 5 with NOAA? Do you get to work remote? Are you in person? How does that work?
So we're hybrid, so we can be in person and or remote. Um, yes, it's kind of just your typical 9 to 5. That is one thing that I love about it. It's hard to find a typical 9 to 5 in meteorology because the weather is always going. So yeah, I really like the fact that it's a 9 to 5. Yes. And, now, like if there's a storm, I can sit on the porch and watch it. I can go chase it. I can go do whatever I want to do. If you're on TV or if you're working for the weather service, you are there when the storm is happening. So, yeah, there is definitely freedom in not having a job that is focused on weather forecasting. So,
Talk a little bit more about, the process from moving to your bachelor's degree to your master's and to your PhD. I mean, I don't have a lot of people that have that much education under their belt. So, do you feel like that foundation has been built for you to succeed in your career today?
yeah, I do. I think the PhD process was really critical for me to truly learn how to do what I do today. Depending on the person and kind of their maturity level with science and the research process, you could probably get away with just having a master's. NOAA certainly doesn't require that you have a PhD, but it was really helpful for me. So yeah, I think so. My bachelor's degree was in communications, and that was really, really helpful in understanding, the communication process as opposed to just meteorology. Um, you know, Talking about theory and the ways that we can communicate, not just verbally, but when you think about meteorology, we're using graphics and that's a big one. Especially if you're dealing with TV or social media or something like that, and you can show a graphic, that's at least half the communication process right there. So it was also really helpful too because I was actually working in broadcast meteorology when I was earning my communications degree, and then also when I was earning my master's in meteorology. So that was really helpful too to not just have the book learning, but to have the experience along with it and learning how to communicate to the public.
So, throughout your journey so far, has there been a time where you had to deal with a major weather event?
Maybe, well, probably one of the biggest would be Hurricane Harvey. I was in South Central Texas at the time, and the center of the storm actually came just within, I don't know, probably 50 miles or so of me. But by that point, it was moving so slow, it had become a tropical storm. And the main flooding event, what Harvey's kind of known for, was what took place in Houston and Southeast Texas. So that was definitely a big weather event for me, and that was kind of the closest I had ever been to a hurricane, but I wasn't necessarily where the worst of the storm was. And then shortly thereafter, that was in 2017. By 2018, I went and started working as a broadcast meteorologist in the Corpus Christi, Texas market, which is the market where Harvey made landfall. And yeah, so I was kind of able to see up close and personal, even a year later, what had happened there, and just the devastation was pretty crazy, especially north of Corpus Christi.
For someone watching who may love the weather but want to get into the communication field of it, what advice would you have for them in pursuing that route?
Learn both. Learn both. You're going to be a better communicator if you know all the meteorology, and you're going to be a better meteorologist if you know how to communicate it. So, pursue both. You don't necessarily have to get, multiple degrees like I did. But, do what you can to learn both. Get a lot of experience in a lot of different sectors. Get some experience in the broadcast sector, even if that's not what you want to do. Get some experience in it. Get some experience with the National Weather Service. If you can get some experience with NOAA, great, do it. I also worked as a research assistant when I was at Mississippi State. And so really diversify your portfolio because it will make you a lot more well-rounded, and, I think will serve you a lot better as you're going forward.
Very good advice. What are the parts of your job that you enjoy the most? I know you said you love communicating with people, but what are some of the things that you look forward to in showing up to work every day?
The people are pretty awesome. I love the people I work with. I've really found that kind of to be the case with NOAA across the board. So that's really cool. They have a really good culture, working culture, and just a scientific culture too. I like the fact that I can show up and ask questions, and spend time searching for answers. And sometimes that requires, you to go through the research process to answer them. But I would say that's probably one of my favorite is just having the freedom to ask questions. And there's not necessarily a rule on what question you can or cannot ask. And so, to me, that's really exciting. I think also dealing with people, it's very variable. Everybody's going to have a little different perception and interpretation of weather information. And sometimes they can actually be, very big differences in interpretation. And so just working with people and understanding how do they interpret this is always just fascinating to me to see all the different interpretations.